Okay, people. So today I'm joined by Max Tzannes, David San Miguel, and Jacob Souza. And yeah, we're here to talk about their new joint, right? Which is just man, this was a fucking great film, man. Found footage, the making of the Patterson Project. Yo, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I appreciate that.
Thanks so much for having us. I'm glad you enjoyed the film. It's one of our favorite movies of all time, certainly.
There's a lot of us in there. So if you enjoyed the movie, I think that, it's the beginning of a great friendship.
Nice. Like, there's a lot of found footage stuff out there, right? I think since the Blair Witch, everyone's trying to recapture the magic, right? Do their own thing. And we've seen versions work, we've seen ones not work. There is a kind of a pressure on like messing in this field, right? So what made you think, all right, let's do a found footage joint?
I think the fact that my background is I love mockumentaries. So there was this confidence that we had. I don't know why that we could, at the very least, do a good mockumentary. And how cool would it be if a mockumentary that really was funny, and even if there weren't any scares in it, you would enjoy it. How cool would that be if that eventually turned into a real found footage horror movie? So maybe we're like Blair Witch and a lot of the other films. I feel like they're just trying to recapture that, being terrifying almost from the get-go, and also being creepy right away. We just want to try to go totally the other direction and be like, what if it was just the most ridiculous premise set up based on our stuff, making independent films. And then it goes to that same kind of place. But even then, we can talk more about it. But some of the scares, to me, there is a funny element in some of the scares as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay. So when did this kind of idea birth itself, right? What was the origin story, really?
We were sitting at Magnolia Grill in Burbank, California, after the completion of our first movie. We had all quit our jobs by that point.
Yeah, which was a hilarious decision to make. It's like we made a movie, and we're like, well, now we're set.
We're set. Yeah, we're gonna be rich. Great.
Wait for those residuals to start pouring over us.
And out of pure necessity, we were like, how do we survive? And the idea was born. Let's make a movie about our process.
Yeah.
And channeling that, those indie grassroots guerrilla style filmmaking. And yeah, I think it was just like we kind of wanted to pull from what we realized, like what we thought we could do realistically with no money.
Yeah.
And the first thing that came to mind was found footage, because it's like, well, it's handheld. We could just shoot it with minimal resources. We could, so that was kind of I feel like that was the origin.
It was nice. Yeah. That gave us the feeling that it was attainable.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's why found footage does have this, like, there's something so tantalizing about it. Cause it feels like, everyone has a phone now. You can theoretically just make a found footage movie. Yeah. But then also some of the greatest movies, like I do think Blair Witch Project is one of the most impactful movies of all time. And it was a found footage film. So you have this weird thing where like the bar is incredibly high if you really want to break through and make a really good found footage movie, but it's also so attainable at the same time.
But Blair Witch was super inspirational because we watched that before, and we were just I hadn't seen it in so long, and it was so refreshing to like watch it and for it to still hold up and to realize like, oh wow, like this movie, like you never see anything. Like you realize you don't ever remember that. You always remember how scary it is, and it is very scary.
I swear there was one shot.
Yeah, you always.
Yeah, I remembered that wasn't in there. I swear there was a shot where she went across the lake and we saw her go. It's not there.
It's not there.
It's all in your imagination.
Yeah, which it's a testament to the movie.
Right.
But then what I was struck by, because I actually come from more of a comedy background, I was struck by just how great the performances are in Blair Witch. They're all so grounded, and they're never. It feels like you're watching real people who are getting lost, and most of the movie is just them talking about how lost they are and being mad at each other, which is to me a testament to how all the little scenes that they have are so authentic. So that was kind of like the starting point. It's like, okay, so if you make the characters believable enough and people that you could kind of root for, let's start there. And then hopefully like by the end, we can build to this place where there's like a big scare.
Yeah.
And also you tell them about the classic thing, that what it's like to make a movie and everything around it.
Oh yeah. I guess it kind of like, there was just like a visual joke that I don't know how it came up, but just like, so you're imagine a found footage film. You got this guy holding a camera and they're like trying to make something really kind of maybe lame looking. If you took a step back, look really scary in the frame, right? So what if you just like took a step back and then watched the people passionately try and make like, I don't know, going down a hallway as an example, use like walking down a hallway, really scary, and just kind of pointing at it and saying, this is actually pretty ridiculous looking if you're standing on the outside of it.
The power of point of view, right? It's
exactly.
Like in one like small little frame, this could be the scariest thing ever, but then jump to a wide shot and now all of a sudden it's a joke, right? This is a complete joke.
you see all the strings being pulled and you're like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, what is this production? But then obviously in like editing and everything that happens in post, you can make something as simple as
super scary.
It's actually really scary.
So it is like a love letter to the found footage movies, ultimately. Even though there's like some, making fun of the actual making of them, there's a lot of that too. And I don't know. Are you a Christopher Guest fan?
Yeah, I mean he's done some good stuff.
Do you like Spinal Tap, Waiting for Guffman, any of those in particular?
Oh, I mean, they're like the classics, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's hard not to like those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like that was the two like types of movies we watched. We watched classic found footage movies, and then we watched Christopher Guest. And we were kind of like, what if Christopher Guest like made those movies? That was the premise.
Okay. Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it's an interesting one, I feel, right? Because I think to myself about Blair Witch, right? Because it was the first. So there's no pressure. You know what I mean? There's absolutely no pressure. And also because it's the first, they were able to do that like marketing campaign where it's like, oh, we're trying to find our friends. We don't know. So everyone's like buying into this thing. So they were able to create this thing and no one's in on it. But now when you try and do that thing, everyone knows kind of where you're looking to go.
Yes.
Right? So it's a lot harder to convince people of the thing. You know what I mean?
And I think we kind of took that used it to our advantage. I think like that marketing campaign that they did, like to make them feel like they really disappeared, was so brilliant and worked so well at the time. Like, yeah, you're right. You can't recreate it and have people be like, I believe this. So we're like, let's take it and like turn it even more into like a joke on itself. Like, clearly there's like we created a whole website for like, as we're marketing, getting ready for release for this thing, a whole like fake website of missing people, the Patterson Project.org. It's about the massacre, the mysterious disappearance of a cast and crew on some indie film called The Patterson Project. But you start to click around and you're like, ooh, that was like a little spooky, but then you click a little further and then there's like a weird, like, I don't know.
There's jokes
all over.
There's
just jokes all over. Like there's suddenly like a little demon whispering in your ear if you click on a picture that's like, ooh, that tickle, or something silly like that, right? So like you're like, oh, I see. They're like doing a play on the thing, and hopefully that like gets people, reminds them of it, but like to giving them a laugh this time around with that idea.
Well, I think that's one of the things that works so much well for this, right? Like you kind of gave me English Office vibes.
Oh, cool!
Wow,
that's right.
A compliment.
Yeah, because I think the beauty of The Office, the original was, it was kind of like you felt uncomfortable because you've been in those situations, like you've worked with those people, and it was kind of filmed seriously, but it all felt a little bit humorous in places and that kind of thing. And so when we're watching this, like, it feels like, you know what I mean, you're making a serious thing, but then you have these moments of just pure genius, like when it's just like wait, we thought you could work a camera.
Yeah.
Right? And like, well, I mean, he fooled us because he was doing that in the audition, right? And like, if that's not funny enough, then you're like, wait, Chase has got to work around, and then we pan out and we see the work, and you're just like, oh my days, this is just fucking great, man.
That's so awesome. I mean, The Office, both UK and US. So I'm sure you have some feelings about UK versus US. I love both of them. So the fact that you referenced the UK Office and say that this movie reminded you in any way of that is like the biggest. I think it's the biggest compliment we've gotten.
Yeah, probably. Absolutely.
That's incredible. At what point did you kind of clue in and think? Was it right off the bat that you were getting that vibe, or like what was it? Was it like the lead performance that kind of gave you that grounded nature? Like how did it sink in for you that you're like, okay, I feel like I've seen this before, but even though it's a little different as well.
I think it's like as the dynamics embed themselves, right? Like as we meet the different, because we start off with Chase like talking and doing all of this thing, and then we're just like, 2 months before, right? Which is I feel it's always one of them things, right? Like a lot of times people start at the end and then you jump back in time. So it's just like, well, we know that person's going to survive and we know we're going to do this. And it's just like, sometimes it can be a bit, but I feel this works, right? And then we jump and he's talking to the French film crew.
Right.
Right. And so we see that and it's like, oh, welcome to my living abode. Like just that in itself. It's just like the use of words. Right. It's the use of words, it's the body language. So we have these kind of things. And then when we meet, like, oh gosh, terrible with names, man.
No, you're like, no worries.
Hold on. Let me.
Are we thinking Frank, the salesman, the furniture salesman?
No, Frank was great. No, I was thinking Mitchell.
So,
we meet Mitchell, and Mitchell's talking and being like, "Oh well, I don't want to call myself an assistant as I'm kind of one of you." But then we meet Natalie as well.
Yeah,
and it's those dynamics that you kind of go, okay, right. I can see. I see what they're trying to do here.
That's so cool. How did you feel about, it starts like that, and then for it to then take that? I'm sure when you first got the movie, you knew that there was a horror element to the film. Did it seamlessly transition for you? Like, was it weird to see characters from that sort of world that end up entering the world of more of a found footage movie, or was that fun?
No, it's great because it's different.
Yeah.
Right. And as I said, there's a lot of people that have tried to do this thing, but I think there's times when people go way too serious.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of, like when you see people try and remake like an 80s, 70s classic film.
Totally.
Right? That isn't perfect, but it works because of the time it's made and the preposterousness of some of the performances and everything like that. When you look at like Total Recall and films like that, you just like that worked because it's just dumb.
Yeah.
And when they remade it, I felt they tried to make it a bit too serious.
Yeah.
And I think if you haven't seen the first one, right, maybe the remake works differently for you. But I think if you've watched the first one and you just enjoy the silliness of it, the second one gets a bit harder to, you know what I mean, vibe with. And the same way like with RoboCop and things like that. And so it's just like, you've approached this and you're not trying to be like, look, we're making a badass horror film. You know what I mean? You're not like,
we were very unserious in our approach.
Like, you just, firstly, you've created characters that feel real.
That's great.
You know what I mean? Like, your characters feel real and the dynamics feel real, right? Especially when, well, there's a situation between two characters, right? And that situation could have been really ham-fisted, but I get, you know what? Thinking about it, like, that situation really kind of feels like, oh my God, in the US office, you've got Jim and
Pam. Yeah.
Yes, Jim and Pam. It felt Jim and Pam.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Right? Totally.
Love that.
Yeah, because it's like two people trying to navigate a thing without saying a thing because you don't want to ruin what's already there and other things there, and like you're two ships and you're not quite in, but you wanna, right? And it kind of felt like that, right? Like these chaste moments and you know, just all of that, and you buy it.
That's great.
Right? It's not forced. You really do buy that situation. So you have these dynamics, you have these characters that actually work, and the viewer can emphasize with, right?
Yeah.
And so I think when you're like in that mind zone, you're just riding with the film now, right? You just want to see where it's taking you. So you have this kind of mockumentary situation going on, and you're just like, I mean, if we don't do any horror, I don't even care.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Like you don't, because you're just enjoying what we have, and it's just like, are they gonna make this film? Like, what's gonna happen? Where are we going? Right? And then when it does then get, you're just like, yo, what the fuck? Oh, shit, they are doing some horror here. Oh shit. Okay. Okay. So how is this now gonna go? Right? So it's just that, like, you know, it's like when you're a little kid, it's Christmas Day, you've opened up your presents, you're like, oh, this is great, I got these presents, and then you're like, there's Steve Jobs in me, there's one more thing. Oh, you know what I mean? And you get a bigger gift. You're like, yo. So it's like that.
And we have one more gift for you. Yeah, totally.
Oh man.
I'm glad I love that you felt that way, where you were like, I don't care where this goes. Like, you fell in love with the characters, and
I think a lot of people are who are supposed to have opinions about things too. I mean, I know I do, for one. Like, it sounds like the way you experience the movie from a filmmaker's perspective is like the dream of what you're hoping for, which is that you were open enough to have the movie take you on a ride, right? Which is like not the case for every. And by the way, it's hard to do that sometimes when it's on your laptop and everything, and you're kind of like trying to figure out, okay, what is this movie? You know, because I think that there is an impulse to want to just like put a movie directly into a box. And it sounds like you more went along with the experiment that we wanted the whole time, which was like, starts as a mockumentary that hopefully is kick-ass, like hopefully a kick-ass mockumentary, and then transitions into hopefully a kick-ass found footage movie. And then if things do happen to the people, you know, that's not great, you might feel really kind of like bad for them because you actually cared about them in a different context than you might have cared about them in other horror movies, where there was always a sense of dread, or where they knew that, you know, maybe they could get away with less, with us having to empathize with them quite as much because they're going to die anyways, right? Yeah, thanks, Kev. Thanks for the that's the kind of watch I'm looking for, Kev.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Well, you know, like, I always go into these things. I was gonna say I always go into these things blind, but that's a bit on the nose, right? You know what I mean, dude? It's just I don't watch. You know, I've said so many times. I avoid trailers because I feel they give too much away. And then I think, you know, in this kind of, you know, in doing what I'm doing, it's like you work with these like PR agents and publicists, and, you know, I think you build that rapport that when certain people send you things, you're like, cool. I don't even care what it is, because this person's sending it to me. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, yeah, Lily and Emma sent it, and I was just like, all right, let's take a look, man.
That's awesome. That's so good. And are you in the UK, by the way?
Yeah, London.
Okay, so there's been some debate about, because it has a UK release digitally. I think the 30th it goes up over there. And we had a question on a previous interview where they were asking us, they said they saw a UK release, and there was American podcasts, and they were asking us like, oh geez, I don't know how it's going to play overseas. I feel like it's such an American movie. How do you respond, Kevin?
I think those people don't know what they're talking about.
I will say it was directly in response to the Bigfoot element of the movie, I think, wasn't it? They were like, is Bigfoot like relevant over in the UK?
Yeah.
And that is it?
I mean, son, Bigfoot's relevant everywhere.
That's what I
mean.
People know how, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
That's just like, do they have the sun in New York? You know what I mean? Like, we have the sun in London, but I'm not sure if they got the sun in New York. You know what I mean?
That's great.
That's really good.
No, I'm just like, look, a good story is a good story. That's what it is, right?
That's
like
kind of us too, where we come from.
No one essentially cares if it's got big stars in it or if it's got people you don't know yet, because big stars were first of all people that you didn't know at some point. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, as long as people can convey this thing to you, you know what I mean, and the story makes sense. Now we've got a story about like this documentary about Bigfoot, you know, and you can go, I mean, that's a goofy story, right? But you're watching the story, and every part of the story makes sense. You know what I mean? Like the turns and the twists and everything that's going on, it all, you go, yeah, thing, right? So I think that's the thing that works, right? And you can take those building blocks wherever in the world, and it still makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I think the one of the reasons, at least for us as filmmakers, that we like, if we were to watch this movie, let's say, and we weren't the ones who made it, there's that thing in a horror movie where you might question the decision making of a character. You might say, that doesn't make sense. I wouldn't just stay there. I wouldn't just go down the hall. I wouldn't just do that. I think that one of the main like nuggets of writing the movie really was like knowing our experience on a film set. If there was actually like some nefarious presence that was like kind of trying to cause us harm, everything's going wrong anyways. So you just kind of chalk it up to just the chaos of being on set. And it's like, there's a pretty late part in the movie where, you know, things are pretty, like the audience is like way ahead. You're like, okay, obviously, you know, and still the director is like, we got 20 pages to shoot. Like we can't leave this location. And, you know, I'm sure to some people that will seem unrealistic, but as a person who's tried to do everything to like even this movie, every movie you make, you just put everything you can into it. That's like, that's what pushed it over for me to say like, this could be a horror movie, because I would believe these characters trying to stay in this place. That's clearly like
make any excuse to ignore the fact that it's actually some kind of very tangible evil there, and just mark it up to just another issue.
Just
that
a tough day.
We just a tough day on production.
Yeah, exactly. This happens on day one, normally for you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think, right, with that, and why you can definitely believe, I mean, it's easy to believe because I've had so many conversations with directors and writers and talking about that experience of trying to get things done and being like, oh, we're chasing the sunset, man. We're trying to do this thing and blah, blah, blah. So you just in that, you'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. But also, you didn't go overboard with the things that were kind of going down. Right. So it's not that's so crazy. It's these little things that are happening, which then go, well, yeah, you could pass that off as something else.
Right. Yeah.
Right? When you're trying, as you say, your back's against the wall, you're trying to do something. And also, no one wants to believe that there's, these other things in the world, right? Yeah. So it's just like, yeah, so we haven't had anything that would be like, it's not X-Files with Mulder being like, Scully being like, oh, I still don't believe. You know what I mean? It's just, it's not that. So you go, yeah, it makes sense that he's just laughing at his girl and going,
That's good, man. Yeah, it was the reason that we thought it could work, was that we would have, I don't know if I would have made any different decisions than Chase in the movie, other than maybe making that specific movie that he chooses to make. Patterson Project.
I think it's a cool movie. Yeah. I was like, we were just watching it recently again. And the movie within the movie, Chase's movie, it's kind of cool, There's we're going to go find Bigfoot. My Uncle Ben, who's the grandson or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's trying to make other people believe Bigfoot is real by
when you get like the gist of the movie itself, you're like, yeah, actually that could be right.
That's so funny. That's what you wrote in the script we wrote. It's kind of a movie that you might it looks kind of, it's kind of low budget, but it might even be something that you might watch.
Yeah.
You might watch it,
Yeah.
I might. Yeah. By the way, our lead actor, Brennan, he wrote, we just wrote the scenes that you saw in the movie because we knew that there were like jokes that we'd make, like the guy with the camera, or they're like, are trying to just walk up the stairs that one time and they're having trouble. But he's a serious actor, right? So he wrote the whole script for the Patterson Project, which we had. Yeah, dude. Yeah, he wrote the man. He's that guy,
Many actor.
Yeah, he went for it. 3-act structure, he wrote the whole thing.
Whoa. That is like, that's definitely getting into your character.
That's so funny because he's so funny. Brennan Keel Cook is his name. And the stuff he's been in the past, I love his look in our movie. He's very approachable. He's kind of adorable looking in a way. If he doesn't have the mustache, he's a pretty strikingly like handsome dude. And he plays the villain in a lot of stuff. He's always like kind of the bad guy, He's like like a drug addict. He's like 10 drug addicts in a row, So it was nice to cast him in something where he still was kind of serious in his acting approach, but he got to play, someone who's a lot more similar to him, very lovable, even though, Chase has his tougher qualities as well. So but he brought the same level of intensity to that character that he did to any of the other deadbeats that he's played in the past.
Yeah, because he's definitely been in big films.
Yeah.
And like this Encounter was great. That was such a great like sci-fi film that you're like, is it a sci-fi film? You know what I mean? That was a great film, man. So yes, but just the way it was played, I think that's just the joy and the magic of what you were able to do here, you know?
I think a lot of the actors were excited just by the fact that when they read the script, they saw that they've been in a lot of these situations. So they were able to draw, from other people that they've met in the past or from their own personal experience. And everyone was just excited. I've never been on a set where so many people just threw out ideas. And I think it was so based off of their own experience, working with on whatever stressful sets, fun sets. And so much of the movie, we really do owe to the cast and crew. It was one of the best. It was the best. And I kind of feel like it will never do better as far as like the vibe,
the on-set vibe,
which by the way, isn't everything, I'm sure, there's plenty of great movies that were just absolute nightmares to make. So there was that like initial panic, like, are we having too much fun making this movie? Like the scene that you're talking about where he's in the car and he gets behind him to operate the camera. That scene, we had like 5 seconds of usable footage because they're just cracking up the whole time. They're dying laughing. And at one point, you see me in the take, I come up and I'm like, okay, we have 2 minutes until we go to lunch.
So let's do this one.
So it's like something that you'd see in the actual Patterson Project movie. It's like, that's the energy I have. Just because they're having such a fun time. And there's plenty of times, we even got shots where actors crack because they're laughing. But but it's believable in the situation that they'd laugh too, because it is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a blast though. So fun.
How many days was the shoot itself?
13 day shoot. Yeah. So we did 5 days in Burbank, just running around stealing, just anywhere we can go, as many favors as possible, just turning those in. Right. There's an alley right down here, shot that, right before the school came out, then we ran back inside. And then we went up to Camp Nelson, which is Sequoia National Forest, about 2.5 hours away. On the way up, the road was washed away. So we had to figure out, oh yeah, that's right. Of course.
Oh yeah.
It's all real. I mean, I remember finishing the first week of shooting and just being so devastated because I loved so much of what we gotten. And I was convinced that we were going to get turned around at the bottom of the road and we weren't going to be able to shoot the movie. So just if anyone's listening who has some project and there are a lot of hurdles, but if you just keep pushing, man, you're going to keep having those moments, but we got up the mountain, we got up there. That was the hardest day I've ever had on set. We had 17 cars go up this one mountain. And we had to go 17 for 17.
Yeah, and we did it.
And we did it.
Oh man, like Jacob, what was the hardest kind of shot or sequence to put together in this? And like when you were, going through the script and everything like that, what did you think might be the hardest shot?
Oh, it's a good question. I feel like when I read the script, it was the scene that I was most excited to see was actually the hardest, I think. And it was all of the nighttime stuff with the driveway, like the paradox. When I read that in the script, I think I told you, Max, I was like, that's the funniest thing in the script. I was like that. I was convinced that was going to be the funniest scene in the script. And I still think it's one of my favorite scenes, but it plays a lot more scary.
Yeah.
We found.
Dreadful.
And I definitely had a little panic attack, right before. I was like, God, we don't have enough light. Like, how are we going to do this? And, it's just like, I think that was always the challenge, was like making it feel like a documentary, realistically grounding it to make it feel like a documentary and not too much like a movie. So that was probably one of the scarier scenes to film. What do you think?
No, I agree. I remember going out there and there's just no street lights, you know? So you have like,
and we're working on a shoestring budget, literally. So we don't have, you know, like cranes to put lights in the sky. We're dealing with, you know, lights on stands, you know, in the trees. So
we don't have to give up the bit basically, but the other thing is that's scary is like, in order to sell that bit, basically the process of it is watching 20 people walk down a road and telling them to stop and then having them walk back up in the dark. And you're like, is this gonna work?
Yeah. Are we gonna be able to see anything?
Yeah, exactly.
That's all. I feel like that's every cinematographer's nightmare. It's always like, all right, big night exterior, let's go with no money. Cool. What are we gonna see exactly?
What about the like? Because our first movie at 2, it was so controlled. What about your approach? Was that was a hard thing? I feel like
that was
like
the general approach to the camera, and it's the camera language in the movie is, you know, it's docu style, it's handheld, it's multicam, it's almost every scene is run with 2 cameras. So that is like a complete jump from our experience making our first movie, which was single camera, very storyboarded, lots of previs. There was only one way to shoot the scene. Very like methodical and calculated. And this movie was the opposite. It was like, all right, 2 cameras, let's throw the actors in the scene, let's light it like a master. So it's like a stage. There's no lights in that are in the way of the actors, and let's just run and have fun and improv. So not only are the actors improvising on some takes, but the cameras are improvising, you know? And so that was very, very, very hard for me to like rationalize while I was shooting, because I can't see the other camera. I'm normally seeing both the camera. Like I'm usually behind the monitor seeing what we're getting. And so I had to trust our crew and our actors, who some of which were holding prop cameras that were actually filming as the third camera, like you see in the movie. We were running those all. So we owe a huge debt to like the whole crew and the cast for giving us an awesome like movie. Cause a lot of like, we didn't even watch the high 8 footage until, you know, after the fact. So we were just like, whatever they get is going to work because they did it, and that it will be right. We have to trust that it will be right.
We have to. I think we also err on the side of over preparing too.
Yeah.
So it like, I know Jake like for our first movie, he built everything in his 3D software, and he pre-lit everything, storyboards that were all, you know, photorealistic for every single shot. And it had to cut together one way. And it was so funny that our next movie forced us to like throw all that out the window and totally just accept the footage that was given to us based off of premises that we gave to the actors. Because a lot of the movie is improvised, right? So we have lines in the script, and often they use those lines, but we gave them, the second take would be like a little off book, and then the third take, just do whatever you want. And I'd say about like 10% of the time we did the do whatever you want take, you know, just like some crazy thing that they come up with. The one where the guy's having trouble framing the camera, like framing up the shot, and the director, that was like 1/8 of a page in the script. It's a 2.5 minute, you know, scene in the movie. So we gave over so much control, I feel like, on all level. It was but it was freeing though.
Yeah.
I felt free.
It was freeing.
It was easy to trust,
because you embrace the imperfections at that point. You know, you accept that if something isn't perfect, you can write it off as like, oh yeah, it wouldn't be, because this is a documentary that we're filming right now.
Yeah. But boy, there must like just the anxiety of not knowing if like the other footage is what you're hoping it's gonna be. But then I guess it's kind of that thing of you have to change your perspective on what success looks like, right? Because if in your head the other footage has to be framed in a certain way, in a certain angle, then it's never gonna match up for you. So you just have to be that open that it's like whatever it's gonna be is what it needs to be, essentially.
Totally. I think if we hadn't been so controlling in past shoots, it would have been really hard. But I think because I did a short film with him that was 10 minutes long, and we rehearsed it for like a month. and he wanted to like kill me by the end of it. And I was like, no, dude, it has to be perfect. Trust me. The line goes like this.
Gone.
You know?
Yeah.
And he's like, please let me just do it. And I don't need to say the lines anymore. You do need to say the lines. So I think I felt like that was being mature, was me over preparing. And I think the process of this was actually the mature thing to do is hire people that you trust, cast them well, and then let them do their work and not get in the freaking way, and that was, and I learned a lot. What do you think? You wrote the damn thing with me.
Yeah. What did I learn?
Yeah.
Just everybody has to be doing their job at 100%. So I think I'm glad that like we made a script that resonated with the cast when we sent that out to people, that they were able to get inspired with a bunch of ideas to bring their own kind of like character to what was already on the page. They all like added different flavors that weren't quite there, that made these characters like feel really real. That was really cool. So it was doing your due diligence to hire, I think, the right people for each job. The art team as well. Just like they were highly inspired by what was it, because there was a freedom to kind of express the stuff that was on the page, like in a very unique way that was exciting to everyone. So everybody just
it felt like indie film summer camp while we were shooting.
So
that was special. It's cool to hear. We had a screening recently of the movie, and a lot of the crew and the cast showed up, and it was cool to talk to some of the crew and hear that like they've been, we shot this movie 2 years ago, and the shoot right before we hired some of these crew members, they were like ready to quit the film industry because they were just completely over the process of making movies. They had worked on so many movies that just had not been enjoyable experiences on set. And then they landed on our set, and they enjoyed it so much that it like inspired them to keep working in the movie industry, and like pursue their own indie film ventures, which that was just so special. I feel like the location we shot it at, the energy that Max brings as a leader, like all of it, like everyone working together kind of creates this awesome atmosphere for like creativity to just unfold.
Dude, definitely shooting out in nature was like huge too. I kind of forgot. It was awesome to wake up like in the most beautiful like mountain.
Yeah, it was very pretty
landscape, and get to like shoot out there in the fresh air, and it was like beautiful. It was awesome. Definitely kept spirits high, I think.
Totally.
Was part of it. Lots of things, but that was big too.
I mean, that's great, man. That's great. Like, was there anything in particular you did to kind of keep that energy up on set and to keep, just everyone in a certain spirit?
I think that David is he's the guy. He's the good, he's the cheerleader guy. He's the glue guy who, if someone is having trouble that day, or even if we've had difficult actors in the past, just sick David on him, and he's, and all of a sudden
I'll make sure they're happy when they go to set.
Yeah.
I just want everyone to like be in a good mood, because what we're doing is fun. It should be really fun. And I just want to create a good atmosphere so that people are in the right headspace to like give the right performance, so these guys can do like their thing. That's kind of my thing on set is, I guess just cheerleader guy. Keep everyone excited about what they're doing.
He's the sweetest.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And then we're kind of like more, I think we're more serious.
We're very,
well, you guys
like, while everyone's having fun, Max and I are in the corner like sweating balls
like,
and stressing, as we should be. Because we're not making.
That's actually one thing that weirdly does keep it more open. Staying on time is like a big one, because then you do feel that you have the margin of error as far as like if we get a few takes that don't work, my stress won't then transfer into their performances, because we've allotted enough time to get the scene right. So that was we had a great first assistant director who also played the Kenneth, the guy who was in the Bigfoot costume.
That was great.
So he's a great actor and really funny in the movie. One of my favorite bits in the movie. And And he was just an incredible first assistant director. I mean, he would be our first assistant director while he was in the Bigfoot suit, you know. So if you can imagine
awesome
that
visual.
Yeah, that was the kind of set it was. It was, you know, the guy who's Bigfoot is first assistant director. My wife plays the Bigfoot alternate. She just came in like a trooper. You know? Yeah.
What was that? The yes, when you're like, she got the walk.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. I sent her the script. I said, "You're Martha," and she looked at it. She's like, "You have got to be kidding." It's not my fault. You're like 6 feet tall and you have this
great physical humor.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, that was the kind of it was. Like everyone was just totally 100% bought in, and it stayed that way. I'm happy to say the cast and crew are very happy with the end product. So they've been like, you know, we're playing in some theaters now. They're all going to the theater over and over again just to see the movie because they enjoyed it so much.
That's good. You know that. Man, like it's a slight tangent, right? But I always find it interesting when you know what I mean, you have these conversations about indie films, and like these films are great, you know what I mean? But for the weirdest reason, a lot of the times some of the actors do not talk about those films.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you will not see an hair or inch of that film on any of their socials or anything. Now, if they could be, you know what I mean, like bystander number 4, right, in a Hollywood film, and they'll be like, "Oh my god," and it's everywhere, right? And they're on screen for a second, but they might have the lead role in this great indie film that they do not talk about. Which is so bizarre. So when you hear that you know, everyone's coming back to watch it and they're so jazzed about, that's such a, you know, that must be great to, you know, witness, right?
Yeah, it's cool. It feels like we got a bunch of I mean, I feel cheesy just talking about it, but it's like we got a bunch of friends. Like we made friends through the process of making the movie. You know, that is, I'm sure you've talked to many directors and writers, and it's probably not the norm for that to happen where it goes that well, because just the nature of being on set is so stressful that it really doesn't make sense that it was that good of a process, especially with the amount of chaos that we had with like 3 cameras and everything. And I think we had like, what do you have, 20 I mean, every given day we'd have like 15 actors in one scene because of course there's our set, you know, there's our crew, and then there's the movie crew that's making the movie, and then there's the actors in the movie within the movie. So it's like, you know, everyone's on top of each other. There's all sorts of things so in our first movie, it was during COVID time. Everything was very, there were a lot of rules, and you're supposed to have obviously masks and stuff like that. But like, you need actors to be over here. There needs to be an actor waiting area. And that has to be X feet away from the bathroom, which has to be, you know, X feet away from, Y feet away from the hair and makeup. For this, it was all just one room. It's like everyone's on top of each other, and we just have to cross our fingers and hope everyone's cool with this and see if they're.
Not only were they cool with it, I think they like wanted to just hang out, which is like so rare. I feel like it's like we offered like we can send a driver up to your cabin. Everyone was like placed in different cabins across this mountain. We're like, we'll like send our PA to get you when it's your time. And people were just like, I want to come like hang out if that's cool.
Yeah,
that happened quite often. I was like, that's like awesome. People just want to.
What do you attribute the phenomena to, of, you know, actors not necessarily wanting to associate themselves with maybe even their better work in smaller films versus their like non-existent work in bigger films? Do you think it's just clout, or do you think there's something else going on there?
I think it's clout, right? And I think, you know, there's a Hollywood film, you know, when you look at it, right, it might cost 60 million to make. Then the marketing budget is like 20 mil, right? Or even more. But on an indie film, like the marketing budget is kind of like, yo, what can you do?
Yeah.
How to use Canva, right? Like that's the marketing budget. And so I think it's like some people, although they might go, it's good.
Yeah.
It's like, how many people are actually going to see this though?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you might think this is good, but it's just like, how many people are going to see it? So is it really going to be successful? Right. Like, do I want to get behind something that then if people dig deep, it'll be like, oh, it made a loss. And like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to be burdened by things that just don't get off the ground.
Yeah.
Where even though I'm only in this thing for a second, it's huge. And I can say that and I rubbed shoulders with this person. And, you know, people be like, oh, I had a conversation with De Niro. And that conversation was like, hi. That's it. And it's like, there was no conversation. But it's like, you can create these narratives. Totally. You know, so I think it's kind of like that, but it's that weird thing of, you understand that if you help promote it, it gets more eyes,
right.
It gets more successful, right? Like with you not talking about it, you are, you know what I mean? Keep it down, which is
That's it. Do you talk to a lot of indie filmmakers? Is that your main focus, or do you talk to all sorts of different types?
Yeah, I mean, you're the only guys that will come on. So yeah, I'm stuck.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
No, it's like, you know what I mean? I'm always like, it's cool to talk with whoever, right? Because, you know, I've done, you know, I've worked in the music industry a bit, like years ago. And you meet like all these famous people, and a lot of them are just boring as fuck, right? They're not interesting. And I think it's like, sometimes you get to a certain point, a certain level, and I think people feel that they need to keep this facade up, right? People have to perceive me in a certain way. And so it's hard to have certain conversations with people where it's just like people, you know what I mean, working to get somewhere. Always interesting. Right? Because it's like, they're not afraid to talk about the things that don't work. Right. And they're jazzed to talk about the things that did work and the surprises and all. And that's what's interesting, because it's like, obviously, you know, if there was no issues, and that's great. That's great. But when you hear like, oh, so they struggled getting financing. Oh, they had issues on set. Right. It gives other people the confidence, because you'd be like, oh, so when those things were happening to me, that wasn't an anomaly. That wasn't, I was doing so. It's just, it happens to everyone.
Yeah, totally. It's very normal to always be climbing up a giant hill. And falling down a few feet every few feet.
But yeah, no, it's just interesting, like hearing about, you know, just people bringing their dreams to life, right? Like all the hard work that goes into this thing, because people see a finished film and think, oh, that's cool. Like, you know, but they don't think about, oh, it took years to do that thing. Right.
Crazy.
Like this, you know, they only had so many days to shoot. Oh, they had to cut certain things, right? Like they had to have all of these workarounds to make that thing work and do. No one thinks about any of that. They're just like, yeah, that's all right. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, that's disappointing. Like, why can't, it's like, I used to work in a cinema and people would go, can you rewind the film? It was just like, no, it's not. That's not how this works, man. Like, what do you, can you rewind the film? Like, what are you talking about? You know, you've got that weird perception on how things work. So when you get to kind of peek behind the curtain and really break down that process, it's so compelling.
Yeah, I mean, those are the stories that, I mean, as you can see with the movie, that's the stories we gravitate to as well. I love the underdog thing, or not even the underdog. It's just like trying to go from 0 to 1 with anything is so hard. And you think, you know, it takes like a certain, like you have to have a certain amount of naive confidence, I think, that you can just do this thing. Because if you don't have that, and you're too realistic about it, I think almost everyone would just not try. And yeah, the trying is the number one, like that. I will always root for a character in a movie if it seems like they're earnestly trying. And that is the experience of making a movie, earnestly trying, and 95% of the time is exactly different than anything you could have anticipated. And just having to make it work.
And you'll save it later.
Yeah.
You'll always be able to save it somehow down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really true. And do you think, right, that's why this works, right? Because, you know, you did the film before, but if this was, say, a 20th film, like, would it have worked, right? Because would you be like, I mean, I don't know about giving random people control of the second shot, right? Like, because we don't have a film, guys. If this doesn't, we don't have a film, right? Everything's on the line, right? If you know, we got this project in the, you know, I mean, the back burner at Disney, and if this fucks up, then they will cancel and deal with owners, and so this has to, you've got, I feel there's that more pressure because you know so much, and with knowing so much, you understand the gravity of everything. Yeah, but when you don't, you're happy to take a chance.
Yeah,
totally.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I think you're totally spot on. I mean, what we're in right now is the wild, wild west of indie filmmaking. And if we made this movie as our 20th movie, I'm sure there would have been.
We would have gone to jail.
We would have gone to jail.
Actually,
there's so much, you know, there's so many corners that you can cut. You know, we're in our 30s, he's in his late 20s, but we're still in college as far as a lot of people are concerned that we're filming around. We just say, oh yeah, we're student for a student project, you know, and we try to sound a little younger and everything. But yeah, you have to, I think that in a weird way, I think with the, if it was our 20th film, it wouldn't be as good, I don't think, because we wouldn't be as in the weeds as we are. And we're right at the bottom, right on the ground, just looking in the weeds right now when it comes to indie filmmaking, because we live it every single day, even after the film was made. Like, and that's why it's endlessly entertaining for us to watch it. We're doing a little watch right now for some little thing we have to do, and we're cracking. I mean, I can't not laugh while watching this movie, just because it still resonates with us. And believe me, there are plenty of short films and sections of our feature film that I will not watch again, because I don't need to watch that, you know. This I'll always watch because I feel very connected to it. If it was our 20th film, we'd have something to lose. And I don't think we would have taken the risks we took. And I think that we would have looked for more people to say yes. No one said yes to this. We just said yes, and we just went for it, basically. And we pushed and pushed and pushed until a movie came out.
I think one of you had said it felt like kind of like making like a short with your friends. Did one of you say that? It was totally that vibe, like when you were like in high school and you were like, you just had some pals over and you whipped out your, you know, little camcorder or whatever, and you're like, let's just like shoot a stupid thing. It kind of still had that vibe. So like nothing was off the table. Everyone was throwing ideas in. There was no like someone standing over you making sure everything was going right. It was like we were just able to have like full creative control of this thing, and we wanted everybody to like be a part of that. So it was just, if we were later down the line,
we also
someone would have been standing over us and making sure it was going on.
No one would have been okay with the pace.
Yes.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Because that's another thing I'm sure is, like there's not really any scares in the first third of the movie, right?
Yeah.
So it's like not a traditional way to approach a horror film is to have, just a basically Office style comedy for 30 minutes, and then they go to a new location and hello, here comes our horror element. But it just that was the movie we wanted to watch. And I think that if we had like a lot of producers over us, we probably just never would have gotten even to the point where, I think the first rewrite of the script would be, okay, but then how does the horror element happen on page 10? That would have
it would have been, you need a scare out the gate.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, you need something to draw people. Like, that's the thing.
That's it. That's it. You know it. You know it too well. You need something to draw people in. The number of times I've heard that on like, Another thing I heard because we'd send the script out and to some people just like, hey, we're making this movie, and the people that were in the industry, a lot of them really vibed with it, but then sometimes we get responses like, huh, that's weird. They just didn't get it at all. Didn't understand a single bit of what was going on there. And for some reason, because it was so low budget and we didn't need a bunch of yeses from people, I don't think we took any notes on the scripts. We just forward. Not to say the script was perfect in any way, shape, or form, but more to say like, let's just go. And then fortunately we had these actors who came in, took it to another level. Then Jake like embraced it from the camera perspective. Then we have 3 cameras rolling, and then something cool came out. I just don't think like if there were more cooks in the kitchen, there were just so many places where someone would be like, okay, what are we exactly making here? Yeah. So there's a movie about a movie, and then it becomes this thing halfway through. Like, who's this for? You would get all these questions. That's like, I like this movie. I think this is cool.
Yeah, well, it can't be perfect.
No.
Right? Never. Because it's about people with no experience making something. So if it's too perfect, you're like, yeah, but how would they know to do that thing? And wait, they're not even at the point of their career where they're doing that. So how's that? Like, it's, oh my days. It's that scene when you've got Chase, Frank, Natalie, and Mitchell, and they're like, we've got him. No. Daniel Radcliffe's gonna be in the film.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I did not see where you were going with that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
I did not see where. I thought it was just gonna be that. Oh yeah, just through there. Oh right, we'll bump into like. I thought it was just gonna be that.
Yeah, totally
through kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we'd see like the back of.
Right.
You kind of make it see. I thought we were gonna do something like that, but then to get. That was just fucking gold. That was so great. Oh my God. Oh, I was just laughing so much when that happened.
That's one of my favorite jokes. And that was another one where we were trying, like in the writing process, we were trying to think of an actor who you could believably think that you might be seeing in this movie. Kind of exactly your reaction, actually. It's kind of what we wanted. Like, oh, they got this guy for a day, or someone who looks like him far away. Yeah. But also importantly, their first name has to sound like, right? You have to be able to have that, right?
Yeah. It's gotta be believable in the play. And then I love the callback to it later on in the film. No, it was in the credits?
In the end credits, probably.
Yeah. And it's just like and he's like, I didn't. Oh, it's just so fucking great.
And what's actually really funny, for a little while, we're discussing maybe trying to get like a cameo, like 1, 2, 3 days, maybe a name for the what then became Alan in
Rickman,
the movie. We thought maybe, hey, maybe we do get a name for this, like just come in and be their star for a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I don't know when we decided that we're not having any stars, because in our first movie we had Lou Diamond Phillips and Malcolm McDowell, who were both great actors and recognizable names. And initially when we made this, we were like, well, we could do one guy that they're hiring. But for some reason in the writing process, that one person that they're hiring became Daniel Radcliffe and fake Alan Rickman. And I don't know what exactly happened. I don't know why it just seemed funnier, I think.
I think that ultimately, the joke was just funnier this way. So and we saved, some money.
I would say that way.
Probably within our budget.
It was unrealistic that we'd even get one of them to happen to begin with. So, we accepted the circumstance and we rode around it, just like Chase.
But it's just those moments that are so believable, like, because you get it. Yeah,
that's so cool.
It's just like there's just something about being able to watch something that works on all of these different levels.
Well, what do you think? Are you a big horror comedy guy? Like, are you comedy, horror? What do you gravitate more towards taste wise?
Man, like, it's a difficult one, right? Because essentially I'm not a horror fan, right? And I think it's because as a little kid, I remember turning the TV on and there was a video already in. So I'm just like, oh, what's playing? It's Nightmare on fucking Elm Street. Right? And I just got this person on the ceiling and all blood coming down. And I'm just like, and you're just like, turn away and run. But you can't. You're glued to the spot. And you're like, I don't want to be here. I literally could not walk down an alley for like 20 fucking years. Wow. I had to run or take the long way around. And it's just like, fuck. So it's just like watching like the horror, but then there's things like Event Horizon is one of my favorite films.
Oh, wow. That's a crazy one.
So good. That's so good. And like there was a film that Shudder sent me a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago. I think it's The Cleansing Hour.
Okay. I haven't talked that one yet. Tell me about it.
Oh man, it's like this kind of this priest. So it starts off with like this exorcism that isn't quite what you think it is. And so then they get brought in to do this thing, and it's all how it all plays out, and then it's what it actually is. And it's really freaking smart.
Do you like that movie and do the horror movies you gravitate to? It sounds like you kind of like the idea. It's like the idea kind of gets you, that they've taken like an angle on something that maybe is like a trope or something that you've seen a million times that maybe you don't naturally like as much as a horror movie. And then, but when you see someone do their own thing with it, is that kind of what the kind of horror movie that you're more into?
I think so, because recently there was a film, Shadow of God.
Oh yeah,
that
cool.
It was really good. It was done really well, and man, I've got to, like, the Addams Family. Their films are so freaking good. Those, oh man, whenever they've got a film out, I'm always like, email and be like, yo, can we have another conversation? Can we have another conversation? Because it's so to John, Toby, Lulu, and oh my god, my mind's just gone blank. Jesus Christ, that's so bad. Oh fuck, I feel so bad because they're all so great, and I've forgotten the other daughter's name. Zelda. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they are so great to talk to. And their films are so like inventive and how they play with the tropes and everything like that. And it's those kind of things that I really enjoy. You know what I mean? Just doing something slightly different with something. It's like there was that found footage film like Chad Gets the Axe.
Yeah, right.
Which I thought was great. And then you've got Dagger. That was really good. DAGR. That was really, and I just spoke to the guys that did The Last Cabin, which again another really well done horror. So you've got those kind of things. There was that film Slacks with about the jeans that were like were guilty, which was really good. And so it's like, I think a well done horror, a horror that makes sense. I think because like when you watch something and people run upstairs, and you're just like, but there's no way of getting out. Why would you run upstairs?
Totally.
What are we doing? And there was this bit in The Last Cabin. It's the thing, a thing I always like. It can drive me crazy sometimes in films when someone's just like, "You guys go. I'm gonna say." If you're like, no one is giving up their life for some random motherfuckers they don't even really like. No one's doing that. You know what I mean? They're probably gonna throw their grand on the floor if it gives them a few extra seconds. And so there's this bit in The Last Cabin where the guy's like, you know what, I'm gonna go out and distract him, and he runs outside and he's just like, what the fuck, and then comes back in and he's like, and I'm like, oh, that's so great. That's so great. You know what I mean? And it's just those things because you buy it, right? It's realistic. And so I think when people like do that kind of thing, right, make it feel like you can believe this happening. That's how I think I gravitate to it. But I still can only watch them during the day. You still have to be a day one.
I was a total scaredy cat as a kid. So my movie was The Ring. I went over to my friend's house. We were in like 7th, 6th grade or something like that. I watched The Ring. And I couldn't. I was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. And I just was like, and it was another one that you put in a videotape. I love videotapes. You put in a videotape and then you're gonna die. I could, this is so hard. Can I watch movies anymore? It was all that sort of stuff. But I think that's a really good barometer. Does it make sense? Could this really happen? And I do think for me personally, a lot of horror movies it doesn't work for me because I feel manipulated. Because the other thing that is hard for me with a horror movie is that I will, even if I don't believe it's plausible, I still feel the fear and I still feel on edge and the jumps still get me. And then I feel a little cheated. Right. So then I'm like, now I've been jerked around, but it wasn't towards something that was like, that was earned, I guess, to me. Now, this is so I think we might be a little similar. On the other hand, we have David over here.
Well, I just think I love horror. It's so fun. I just think I don't know. I think it has a little bit to do with I grew up in a pretty Christian household. I wasn't allowed to watch, like Pokemon. Nothing against you, mom, dad. You guys are great. But yeah, I wasn't like allowed to watch Pokemon, which is like one of the I think fluffiest, cutest shows probably ever. Anyway, so as soon as I got to college, I started eating all the horror I could get my hands on, and I found a lot of really cool horror. Like my favorites, like The Thing. There's obviously some really good ones, but I also was in a phase, just give me the crap ones too. I don't care. I don't know what it is about them. I like that feeling of being scared. The exact feeling you don't like. Like even if it's not earned, I kind of just like to get spooked.
That's so cool though.
And I'm somewhere in between because I feel like I do enjoy that feeling too. But I think as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that I enjoy I don't ever set out to watch horror movies when I'm by myself in my room. I'm not I want to watch a horror movie right now. But when I'm watching it with people or in the theater,
Mm-hmm.
as when it's a communal experience, I really like it because it's like it's fun. Like, yes, it's scary, but you're being scared with a whole crowd of people, and it's like in some ways it's cathartic afterwards because you're like, wow, we all like went on this little like horror ride together, and like
totally.
now we're back to safety. So that's kind of a fun feeling.
And the weird, I do want to ask you about comedy too. Are you more? Would you consider yourself a fan of comedy movies, or are you more of a drama guy?
I like a good comedy,
but
I think again, it's kind of like there's things that have to kind of make a bit of sense rather than you trying to force a laugh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of a forced thing to try and get a laugh.
Totally.
You know? So it's got a like I mean, there's things that are just great, like Big Daddy. Love Big Daddy. Like 50 First Dates. Knocked Up, Zach and Miri Make a Porno. Right? There's those kind of like Tropic Thunder is so fucking
so good.
Totally.
So funny.
Man. Like there's those kind of films, and then there's those other films with like those really funny kind of moments in that just work so well. And you know what I mean? So those kind of things are the ones that work for like I didn't like I remember going to the cinema to watch Your Highness and I didn't laugh once. And I thought it's gonna be really funny, and I was so disappointed because I just wanted to laugh and have fun, and it just didn't work for me. And it's funny, like there was oh gosh, what was it? There's last year or the year before? There were these two films, kind of similar. I think one was called Spinster. And the other was called Scrambled. And I just did not laugh with Spinster. But Scrambled was so fucking great. You just bought this, like what this girl was going through and the scenarios and everything. And that I think was, you know what I mean? And so there's got to be that thing that you just by this situation rather than kind of just trying to force these laughs out and just put these people together and you'd be like they wouldn't be together, like there's no so I don't buy that, you know what I mean? So that's my kind of thing with like comedy, you know what I mean? Like it can be gross, it can be like I listen to Your Mum's House all the time. That's just funny as fuck, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like that's so funny, right? Like Kill Tony, like some funny shit. But then there's these other things that I just aren't my thing.
For sure. No, I think that was, and it's funny because it reminds me of the writing of the movies. I think because I come from more of a comedic background. And I think David has the horror thing. There was that like tug, where I think you wanted to make sure
that it kind of when it felt like it wanted to lean horror to not like not resist that urge and to actually like lean into it a little bit, at least give people like a little bit of that and then also when it was time to like go full into it,
And even like, there's a last scene in the movie that I was like, and the movie's done. He's like, no, you kind of want to, because that's the other thing. Because with my horror back, like I know the tropes, but I'm pretty reticent. He's like, you got to do a last scare. There has to be like one last thing at the end of the movie. I just like structurally, if this is going to be if you want it to end as a found footage movie, you have to have that in there. And I'm grateful that you did it because it's like that is the experiment that we're trying to do. Is like, can you start with something that you buy as a comedy? And then that you would buy as a horror movie too. And that's still funny, by the way. To me, by the end, I'm still laughing just because I know there's some visual things that happen during the big climax, let's just say, that I always burst out laughing every single time. And one may or may not involve Alan Rickman too. So
and you were talking about like people like being like, I'll be a hero moment.
Oh yeah.
We maybe have one of those in our movie too, but we also are aware that it's like kind of a joke, hopefully.
Exactly.
So hopefully you're
oh no, but that,
you know,
you're cool with that.
Yeah.
You kind of buy it and you kind of feel that is what that character would do as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the key.
As insane as it is, it's like he would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially coming off of what just happened with him and
Yes.
his friend. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It was a fun, and I always laugh at that part too because he becomes such a little superhero.
He's
such a silly.
He's such a sweet flower most of the movie, and then he's suddenly like,
yeah,
someone gets the hero. Yeah. But I feel that
totally.
Yeah. That was that was good. That worked.
That worked. That's good. We got the it makes sense approval. That's good.
Like when you watch, with like with horror, where it's kind of got to make sense. Is that the same with comedy and dramas and thrillers and all of those things for you guys too?
Yeah. I think the
stories. I think always first for us. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Characters, like relationships and like how people interact, for sure. It's just got to make sense. I think, and we feel similarly.
Yeah, like it has to be grounded to a certain extent that if you told someone a story, you told it as a story version to somebody, they would be really interested to hear what happens, but they wouldn't think that you're lying to them. And I don't know about you guys. I for some reason I did this memory today in school. I like embellished a story one time about burning my finger, and I remember about why I did it. Because I was a kid and I thought I was like trying to be funny, right? And everyone kind of like they bumped on my story, and I was like, I'm thinking back, I'm like, that was the first time I told a story, and like I felt the reaction of the audience being like, "You're full of shit," So yeah, no, I thought about that today. I didn't, because we were talking about the edit and stuff like that. But that happens in a movie too, and if the audience feels like you're full of shit and you're just doing something to be manipulative and it's not coming from a place that they can relate to or they know someone that or they could believe in it, it's a huge issue. It doesn't matter to the genre. And I totally agree with you.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's the big thing. So yeah, it's always a joy to be able to watch something that work so well, and then just be able to have, like, this is the great thing about you watch something that you really like, and then you can have that conversation about it and be like, yo, so how did you do this thing, and how did you like conceive this moment, and all of that's always good. I mean, was your casting process like Chase's casting process?
Closer than you'd think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
It didn't start like right away in person. We first went to backstage, where you get all sorts of flavors on backstage, which is like perfect for this kind of movie. We've got like kind of quirky characters, but we were looking for the quirky that also could marry with the earnest.
Yeah.
And I think we found it was a grueling process, but I think we found those people, and they shine bright.
It was great. He was the casting director, by the way. Of course, right? Because everyone's doing everything. And the majority of the people in the cast we cast that way. 2-3 actors were just people we knew. So Brennan was in our first movie. And he played like a dopey kind of character, but he played him so well that we thought of him again for this, because on the page, that's a character. Talk about someone that you have to care about and believe that, it's a lot is on his shoulders, because for the first 10 minutes of the movie, you kind of have to decide, like, do I care about this guy's movie? Do I care about even watching it? Like, is he fascinating enough or relatable enough for me to want to watch his story? So,
well, no, sorry to cut you, but the thing with Chase as well, right? The things happen in the film, and you're kind of like, well, I'm glad, because he is getting a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
But then you had the moment, it's just like, oh my God, guys, we did this. And you're just like, oh man, I really feel for that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And you're just like, God damn, he's gonna lose everything. And you just feel bad for him for that moment. You're just like,
He's just a very real person with his flaws and his what are the best characteristics anyone could have, but you wish you could have.
I think in fairness, that's in the script, but Brennan is so good at that. He's so good at knowing where the audience is with him. So, because like, for example, he knows when he has the license to be more of a dick. Because like, there's some scenes when he talks over Natalie, you know, he's like, right. And it's like, if he had done that in the first scene, I don't think anyone would be on Team Chase at all, right? You'd be like, screw this guy, right? But he knew that it was okay for him to go that far in that scene. And then he knew in the third act, because we'd written a little thing, he just says, see you guys later, you know, I'll see you at the premiere. And he turned that into this like really kind of sweet sort of thing. So you know, and it's kind of heartbreaking because you know that his girlfriend has some pretty bad news for him on the other side of this, you know, car ride. So he's really great at just like kind of cluing. He's always thinking about like, is this reading? He always says like, is this going to read? He's always asking me that. I'm like, I don't know what's going to read. You tell me. You're like 10 times better than I am at this stuff. So it's so cool that you mentioned that moment because I know he put a lot of thought into that specific monologue you're talking about.
Oh, it was so good because it really does kind of make you go, oh, like, am I wrong about this guy? Like,
that's great. That's so cool. Yeah, of course. And then they get in the car and he's like, we got to put that Blair Witch polish on the movie. He's right back.
And you're just like, ugh.
Totally.
Oh man, but yeah, no, it's you really did a great job, guys.
Thank you.
You really did do a great job with this film, and I think it's like, as I said, you know, Hollywood films and big stuff, they're like, they were always, you know, at one point no one knew who they were. At one point they were building, they were like creating things, and then suddenly they blow up, and it's just like, I think it's interesting stories. It's like great pieces of work. Like when you look at, like, I feel it's Mark Webb that did Brick, right? And then he went on and did Spider-Man, and you're just like, wait, how does Brick guy get to do fucking Spider-Man? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's the trajectory. That's what I mean. We love making little movies. It's awesome. But also, as much as the Hollywood system is flawed, like, come on, those are the movies you go to see in the theaters. And it would be great to continue to make enough of these or have a good enough catalog that you can, that someone says, yeah, sure, go for it. Here's 20 mil. You know, let's see what you do with this thing. It's like, all right, then we'll enter a whole nother crisis, you know, and we'll do another found footage on that movie.
Well, I think, like, when you think about it, right, it makes sense if you are looking to breathe life into a new franchise or do something, because yes, you can always get like those big time directors, but we've seen what they can do. We've seen their work, right? And some people, all their films are great, but they do have a similar feel to them, which is all good. But does that work with, you know, X-Men? Does that work with Batman? Does that work with, you know, the Rocketeer or whatever? Yeah. So it's just like you would look to the next generation of talent coming through and being like, yo, what could they do? Like, what interesting things did they do with their last film? And, you know, that small budget, how did they solve problems? How did they make this stuff work? And I feel that's what you would want to breathe life, because as I said, we saw Mark Webb do it well. Like we've seen like so many people, you know what I mean, come from the indie scene and then go and do something just great. So yeah, I feel it's just like, you know, you just keep telling great stories and that opportunity will rear its head, you know.
Thanks,
man.
That's we hope.
If it does rear its head and we do some big movie, we're still coming on your podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. We're still doing it.
Good. I'm gonna hold you to that, guys.
Absolutely.
Oh man, like, one thing I was just wondering about the casting.
Yeah.
Did you have a particular kind of look in mind for every character, or were you just open to what anyone might bring? You know what I mean? Like, essentially, could Chase have been a short guy with ginger hair, or did it have to be, you know what I mean? Like, could Natalie have been Hispanic, or like, you know what I mean? Like, what was the vision kind of thing?
It was all, for me as the director, it was like, from a director, you probably speak more to the like people that you were bringing in initially for casting. It was all about, it was a lot about the inside of what they were giving you and what you felt from them. Chase had to be, to me, someone who was simultaneously like, you kind of know that guy, but he's a little larger than life, and he's a little off. Maybe you'll have a beer with him, but you'll only have one beer. You're not trying to, you know what I mean? Otherwise, you get caught in some conversation about Citizen Kane that you're not trying to have, you know, on a Friday night. So that was like, and I know that's like, there's almost none of that is physical description, right? It's like, it's just kind of feeling. And then, you know, with Natalie is very much, I mean, Pam Beesly is an archetype for the Natalie kind of character, but you also want her to be someone that you could believe is a first assistant director. And that person has a certain kind of mentality as well. Very helpful, but also has to be able to be stern at a certain point. And her arc was about going from being just helpful to like becoming, you know, standing up for herself, right? Mitchell was completely different on the page than the guy that we ended up casting. He was on the page just kind of like a corporate suit guy who fell out of love with the hustle and bustle. And then Chen Tang, the actor, came in and he played him like this kind of devout guy who came from China with his family as Christians. They were like Christian Chinese who came here. And then when he moved to Los Angeles, he found like his Messiah in Chase. And we were like, this is nothing. This isn't in the script at all, but we fucking love it. You're in, man. Get in the movie, you know? So it was very much, it was all like comedy. It was really like, what's the comedy of it? And then are they surprising us? And then are they also hitting the home tone? And we fucking lucked out like across the board. Really did. I mean, you tell me. By the way, any one of them could be Hispanic. That was like we would have been.
Yeah, we saw. I mean, we saw a bunch of people. It really was just who was bringing the most genuine, the most genuineness to each character, and maybe even surprising us, like you said. We sent out for the Jamie Lynn character is like probably the biggest example of like the biggest casting. We were like, this could be, it could be a girl, a guy, like whatever. Let's just see what people bring.
She's the young lady who has a really unfortunate demise. That's a little explosive, shall we say, in the movie.
She has gastrointestinal. She's always like burping and
stuff.
So that we sent out wide, and then we landed on like the perfect person for this, and she nailed it. So it really was just who felt like they were ready to play with us, that were really equally excited as we were to do this kind of scary project, because it was so kind of loose, you know.
Totally.
And we found those people, and it's awesome.
It's great.
We're so fortunate to have found them.
Oh, fantastic. Oh man, like, how's it feel that the film's gonna be out soon?
Yeah, we're excited. We can't wait for people to see it. I mean, I just want as many people to watch as possible. I do feel like it's a movie that even you don't have to be in the film industry to enjoy, because it's ultimately it's about people in like trying to accomplish their dream, and they're doing it on a very low budget level. And I think anyone who's started a new business or any little venture, it's like, I think everyone deals with these sorts of ups and downs and the feeling that the thing is impossible to attain, you know? So I'm hopeful that it resonates with the general audience as much, and I want as many people to see as possible. I'm going to watch it. Like I said, I don't watch all our movies. I'm going to watch this movie again when it comes out.
Awesome. And have you guys thought about what might be next? Like, are you going to work together again? Are you going off and doing a separate thing? Like, is it more horror? Are you going to do a rom-com? Like, what's next, guys?
This is what we do. It's all us, man. We're dirty. So our company's name is Dirty Shot Clean. So we make all our movies like together until we all break up with each other, which doesn't feel like it's happening anytime soon. Cause we just love doing it. We have the horror lane, we have the comedy lane. Both of those things are kind of like, you know, I think that's what people we meet with, that's what they expect us to make next. So we're probably going to do something in one of those two spaces. And yeah, I mean, at some point we'll probably make a found footage too, because I'm sure we'll make some other crazy movie that we're going to want to riff on again, you know. But as far as the next one goes, I think it's probably going to be a little bit larger. Like, you know, this was very low budget, a little bit larger horror comedy movie, honestly. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing right now. Yeah. That's our lane.
Okay. Well, man, I'm looking forward to it for sure. Yeah. So yeah, man, guys, like when you have that next project, definitely stop by. We'll have another conversation. But yeah, I think once everyone gets to see found footage, the making of the Patterson Project, whoo, things are gonna blow up. I think things are gonna blow up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We hope everybody likes it as much as you do. Seriously. Thank you so much.
No, I think you know, as I said, it's about good story. You know what I mean? And this is a great story, right? We got a great cast, like the cinematography, everything works.
Yeah.
You know, good sound design, just all of these elements work. So yeah, why won't people like gravitate to this? Yeah, no, I'm gonna love it, man. Sure.
Thanks, man. We really appreciate being on and talking with you. It's cool to talk with someone who has a similar sensibility to us, and we'll be on the lookout for your future reviews too. If you dig something, I think we're going to dig it too. So we'll be following you from now on.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, let people know how they can keep track of everything that you're doing. Like, David.
Yeah, you can check out our Instagram. It's Dirty Shot Clean. We also have a TikTok. We're doing a bunch of promoting right now for found footage making for the Patterson Project. We've done some really fun stuff, so you can kind of keep track of us there. You can call 1-844-PAT-PROJ for a little Easter egg surprise. It's a missing persons hotline. I'm putting air quotes around that. That you can call, and they'll inform you how you can, keep track of this movie. And there's a website as well, the pattersonproject.org. That is kind of an homage to the Blair Witch Project, how they kind of were promoting their film. But yeah, ours is obviously like a little bit of a joke. but it gives you some gets you hyped about the movie.
Make sure to click around.
Yeah, click around.
Click everything. Everything's interactable.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, is that the have you got your own website? Anything that
we're all in. We're a package deal over here. Dirty Shot Clean. All our stuff is on the same website, dirtyshotclean.com. That's how we're doing it. That's why I made a movie about all the ridiculous things that have happened to us in the past, because we make our movies together.
Well, that's great, man.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good. It would be hard to go through this stuff without a group. We enjoy it.
Well, no, I think it's all about that infrastructure and having the right people around you to, like, just keep you going at times. So, like, when you found that group, those people, yeah, keep it going, man. So yeah, you know what I mean. You found a great formula. It works, and we're looking forward to see all that success that's going to be coming your way.
Thanks, Kev. It was great talking to you, man.
Thank you so much.
Hey, no worries at all. People, go check out found footage, the making of the Patterson Project, because it's not just funny, it's not just scary, it's just a great story. So yeah, go check it out and enrich your lives. All right. Hey guys, you know what I mean? It's been fantastic. Max, David, Jacob, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And man, crazy success with the film.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Until next time.
All right. Peace.
Bye-bye.